One thing about reading is that it sure does get you thinking, and it reminds me of this time when I was in 3rd grade, and we had to write a poem, and I had a Dr. Seuss poem little bookmark that I was obsessed with. I loved this poem. I used to reread it all the time. I had it probably for 2 years, and I used it for everything in class. And we had to write a poem in 3rd grade, and I wrote a poem, and I was so proud of my poem. And my teacher all of a sudden comes up to me and starts like asking me questions and starts yelling at me. Well, I had grabbed this poem and I would always read it, and I would change certain parts of it because I had been reading it for like 2 years on like a daily basis that I thought made the poem better. So I grabbed this poem in 3rd grade when we needed to write a poem. I wrote a poem and I changed the words of Dr. Seuss's poem. And I turned it in to my teacher. And my teacher praised me for it. She was like, I cannot believe you wrote this. She went and showed other teachers the same poem. Everyone was so proud of me. Until that same day, later on in the day, she comes up to me, and there's like 2 teachers behind her staring me down, looking so disappointed. I'm so confused because I've been being praised all day. And she goes, "Did you write this poem?" And I said, "Yes, I did," because I had written it. It was on a piece of paper with my hand and pencil. I wrote the poem. So she asked me, "Did you write this poem?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Did you copy this poem?" I said, "No." She said, because I hadn't copied it. It wasn't copied in my mind. I grabbed a poem, changed the words, and made it my own. So it was my poem. I was in 3rd grade. I didn't know about copywriting. No one had ever told me about copywriting. It was not something that gets discussed very regularly. And so she asked me again. She was like, "Okay, well, what about this poem?" And she shows me my bookmark. And I was like, "Yeah, I love that poem." And she goes, "Okay, well, this poem and this poem are very similar." And I was like, "Yeah, I used it and then I changed the words." And she lost it on me. I mean, lost it. Started yelling at the top of her lungs. Everyone in the class was staring at me. She's like, "This is copywriting. This is cheating. You're a cheater." And is like going off, right? Mind you, I'm in 3rd grade. I've been in the United States for maybe 2 years, 3 years at that point. Very confused. I had been being essayed at that point, so being yelled at was scary and unsafe for any child it is. But in my perspective, I thought I was about to be taken to be essayed after this. It was just like, bah, bah, bah. And she starts yelling. These 2 teachers are behind her, just like scolding me as well. And I'm sitting there just so confused. I was so genuinely confused as to why I was in trouble. Because, again, I didn't know about copywriting. I was like 8. I didn't know what I had done was wrong. I really loved this poem. I thought I could make it better. I was given the assignment to write a poem. I saw my chance to show the poem I thought would be better. And so I wrote it. I didn't know Dr. Seuss was like this famous person at that point. I didn't understand what that meant. It's not like he was like on TV. I didn't know I had done something wrong. And I just remember that I don't think about that day often, but I think about it often enough where it still lives like rent free in my head. And I don't know, I was reading this book and it just like popped into my head, and I was like, it begs the question, did you do something wrong if you didn't know you did something wrong? Should you be scolded for it if you didn't know it was something that was wrong? Shouldn't you just be explained? Now, the teacher was wrong in any and every perspective. There's no reason why you should be yelling at an 8th grader, especially as the teacher. Belittling them, telling them that they're a cheater, that they did something bad, that they're not a good kid, that they're this, that. That should have never happened. It should have also never been done in front of the entire class. That teacher fucked up from the beginning to end. But in general, when you do something wrong, did you really do something wrong if you didn't know you did something wrong? Or maybe you did do something wrong, but should you blame yourself and belittle yourself in your own head over it? Should you feel guilty for what you've done if you genuinely did not know what you did was wrong? I for a long time feel like I felt guilty for doing that. But now I look back and I'm like, Jimena, you were 8. You were in 3rd grade. You didn't know. I don't hold that guilt in me anymore because it's silly. It doesn't belong. I didn't do anything that should have had that response from adults. And I promise you, Dr. Seuss is not mad, nor was he like, you plagiarized my work, bitch. You know, like, the man was dead at that point anyways, too. But, like, I just don't feel like his soul was like, yeah, fuck that 3rd grader up, teacher. Like, I don't know. And I think about it, like, this one time, I met this guy, we were out at Yard House? No, Earl's in Tyson's. Met this dude, tells me this whole story about how he moved here because he was getting a divorce, and that he was divorced. He had recently been divorced, and no kids, no nothing, so it was a clean break, blah, blah. Told me this whole life story. I obviously liked the dude. I was 19 at the time. No, 21, because we were drinking. I was 21 at the time. I worked at Paul Mitchell, and yeah, so he tells me this whole story. We're chatting on Instagram and text messaging, and like a week in, I get this call at 8 in the morning from this super angry woman. Stop talking to my husband, you fucking whore, blah, blah, blah. Goes off on me. I am so confused. I'm literally telling her, you have the wrong number. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not talking to anyone right now. She tells me his name. I don't know his name. I don't remember his name. I've chatted with him on Instagram. His username is not his real name. And it's this whole thing. She's like, he has kids and he's a married man. He has a full-time job. You're ruining his life. So lost. I've talked to him maybe twice since in that week, and it was very briefly check-ins that he messaged me and I responded with what I was doing. And so then I'm thinking back and forth, and so then finally, mind you, she calls me and hangs up. She yells at me, tells me all this stuff, and hangs up on me. So I call her back like 3-4 times trying to be like, who are you? What is going on? Finally, I send screenshots of his messaging, and I'm like, is this who you're talking about? She's like, yeah, that's my husband. I'm like, girl, listen, he told me he had just moved in here because he was divorced and he has no kids. I don't know what kids you're talking about. Like, and she ended up apologizing to me. But I felt guilty about that for so long because, like, the number one thing about me is, like, cheating I think is so fucked. Like, I just think it's so fucked to go out of your way to hurt someone that you love. And I just thought that was so fucked of him to do, and I internalized what he did as me being part of it, like that I had also done something wrong. And in thinking about this like moment in 3rd grade and stuff, I'm looking at this and I'm like, Amanda, you didn't do anything wrong. This guilt is not yours to hold. Now, if I would have continued or done something after knowing the fact, yeah, then I'm in the wrong. But I was completely lied to. And I was just drunk that day and thought he was really cute. He was like 40 and I was 21. This was never going to become a thing, you know? And I don't know. I just recently had that realization while reading this morning, in this moment, that like that guilt is not mine to hold. I didn't do anything wrong. I did do something wrong in the sense of the overall situation was wrong, just like back in school. I did something wrong by plagiarizing a poem, even though I changed the word, so I don't think it's plagiarizing, but whatever. Still mad about that situation. She should have never talked to me that way. But I did something wrong, but I didn't do something intentionally wrong. Therefore, there is no reason for that guilt to linger in me, because I didn't purposely try and do something. I didn't consciously do something wrong. Therefore, I shouldn't feel that level of guilt or beat myself up or use it as one of the reasons to think I'm a bad person for these scenarios when I didn't know. I simply just didn't fucking know.